Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are continuing our systematic look at the ideas in scaling digital capital. In episode 1, we landed on this really fundamental shift.
Right.
AI has graduated. It's not an experiment anymore. It's not in the lab. It is core enterprise infrastructure.
It's the new electricity. That's the perfect way to think about it. It powers everything, but it's totally invisible.
And that invisibility, that leads us right to the mission for today. If AI is this new, essential, but completely inventable infrastructure, how on earth do you value it?
Yeah.
How do you justify, massive spending on something that just doesn't fit the old financial model?
That tension is exactly why the source material kicks off with such a provocative line.
Because
Your balance sheet is lying to you. That one sentence just cuts right to the heart of the problem for basically every big company right now.
okay, let's unpack that. I mean, it sounds a little dramatic, like financial malpractice.
Well, it sort of is, but it's not intentional. It's just that the accounting rules haven't caught up with reality.
So this is what the book calls the intangibles inversion.
Exactly. Let's just look at the history of corporate value. If you rewind to, say, 1985, a massive 68% of the S&P 500's market value was tied up in tangible assets.
Things you can touch. Factories, inventory, machinery.
Things you can physically count, kick, or, insure. The industrial titans.
Right. Manufacturing, energy, all that.
But then you fast forward to 2022, that number, the value in tangible things, it just collapses down to only 10%.
Wow. So where did the other 90% of the value go?
It's all intangible. Today, 90% of corporate value is things like software, data, IP, brand, and these highly optimized digital workflows.
So 90% of what a company's actually worth is in this digital or cognitive layer.
Yes.
Yet we're trying to measure it using rules designed for the 10% that's still steel and concrete.
That is the strategic oversight. That's the whole problem. When a company invests in AI, which is 100% intangible, they book it like they're buying a forklift.
Just the line item.
Yeah.
An expense.
A pure cost to be minimized, buried somewhere deep in the IT budget. So you're building this real, durable capacity, a valuable asset, but it never shows up on the reports. So your CFO is running the business based on a picture that's just drastically incomplete.
And this mismatch between what's real and what's reported, that's what creates the measurement trap. It leads to this one statistic that just seems to paralyze every boardroom. Let's hit that number.
Yeah, it's killer. 95%.
95% of generative AI projects, the data says, failed to deliver a measurable ROI within 6 months.
If you just take that number at face value, you'd have to conclude that every CEO and CIO on the planet is suffering from the greatest collective delusion in business history.
Just pouring billions and billions of dollars into thin air.
Right. But the source makes a really critical point here. The statistic is real.
The interpretation is what's wrong.
The interpretation is completely flawed. The failure isn't the technology. The failure is the yardstick we're using to measure it.
Okay, so ROI, return on investment, it's a wrong tool for the job.
It's an industrial era metric. It asks a really specific, really short-term question.
Did we make more money than we spent?
Exactly. Did the incremental revenue from this spend exceed the cost? And that works perfectly for a new assembly line or, a quarterly ad campaign.
Things with a direct, immediate, and marginal impact.
Correct. But AI doesn't create value that way. AI creates value structurally through what the book calls capability expansion.
So things like capacity gain, process acceleration.
Error reduction, skill amplification, these are, absolutely crucial drivers of long-term advantage, but they're systemic. They don't just show up as a revenue spike in a 6-month window.
I can see the mismatch.
Yeah.
If I install a new production line, I see more widgets sold instantly. If I integrate a large language model into our knowledge base, the value is created through 10,000 tiny little efficiencies that just compound over months.
And that's why so much of the initial value from AI shows up as, say, cost avoidance or quality improvement, not new revenue.
Okay, give me an example of that.
Think about automating a back office function, like in customer service. The value isn't new sales. The value is that you avoided hiring 10 new analysts.
Or you cut an expensive outsourcing contract.
Exactly. That is huge, tangible financial value. But the line item on the report just says IT cost. It never gets credited back to the AI investment.
And if you can't show the value, the spending just stops.
It cripples adoption. The data shows that 49% of CIOs say that just demonstrating value is their single biggest barrier, and 85% of large companies admit they don't even have the right tracking tools. The measurement infrastructure is just not there.
This brings us back to a really key distinction. The difference between the tool and the actual value you get from it. I think the gym membership analogy here is perfect for you, the listener.
Oh, it simplifies it perfectly. Buying a subscription to an AI model or an API, that is exactly like buying a gym membership.
The subscription itself is a pure expense. It produces zero value.
The value only starts when you show up, when you put in the work.
And for AI, showing up means deployment.
Deployment. It means wiring that model into your ticketing system or connecting it to your development pipeline, building the workflow. The tool itself is just potential, and that potential, by the way, depreciates incredibly fast as tech moves on.
But the deployment, the workflow you build with it.
That is the asset, and that asset compounds. So companies that only focus on the cost of the tool are completely missing the point. If you buy the tool but you don't build the workflow, you have zero assets and 100% expense.
So if we're moving away from that old industrial question of what's the ROI, what's the new question we should be asking?
It has to be. What can you now do that you couldn't do yesterday? Value is measured in capacity.
Okay, let's make that concrete. Give us an example that just completely bypasses that old revenue calculation.
Okay, think about a software development team. The old ROI model asks if their new coding agent generated more sales, which is a silly question.
Right. But when you deploy that agent correctly, the real value is that your 3-person team now ships features at the speed of a 6-person team.
You didn't double your revenue in 6 months.
No, but you doubled your engineering capacity. You just achieved a strategic position that your competitors who are still stuck in that headcount to output equation, they just can't match that.
And the research backs this up. The sources point to an MIT study that found the biggest returns from AI weren't in direct revenue.
Not at all. It was overwhelmingly in back office automation and system optimization. Pure capacity gain. Pure cost avoidance.
The book puts it so vividly, it says we've discovered a new continent of AI workers.
I love that quote. These are, tireless digital employees who never need a coffee break, never call in sick, and they scale instantly. That is a massive resource, but you have to measure its capacity, not just its short-term revenue.
And that philosophical shift demands a new framework. The solution, the alternative, is ROE.
Return on efficiency.
It shifts the question from, did we make money yet? To, are we operating better, faster, and smarter? That operational improvement, that's where the most reliable value from AI is, especially at the beginning. ROE captures those gains that traditional accounting is blind to.
Okay, so to make this really practical for you listening, ROE breaks down into 5 key dimensions.
Right.
Let's detail those, starting with the most obvious one.
Dimension 1 is efficiency metrics. This is the core of it. We're looking at time saved per process, throughput per employee, cycles eliminated. The classic example is, an analyst team spends 4 hours on a big report.
And after deploying an AI agent, they spend 40 minutes.
That's a huge capacity gain right there. And if that report is run 50 times a month, that efficiency just compounds across the entire organization.
And that time is now free for, actual human analysis, not just copying and pasting data.
Precisely. That's the leverage. The next dimension is equally important, especially for risk. It's quality metrics.
So this is about improving the output, not just the speed. Accuracy.
Yes. We measure error reduction rates, customer satisfaction, decision accuracy. If an AI system in a factory catches defects that human inspectors always miss, that reduction in waste or risk has enormous financial value.
It's value you avoid losing, not just value you gain.
Exactly. Dimension 3 is where we start moving from cost avoidance to real strategic growth, capability metrics.
This sounds like measuring what's now possible.
It is. It asks, what new tasks can we do now? How much are we amplifying human skill? If your team couldn't do, say, high-level competitive analysis before, so you had to hire an expensive consulting firm,
And now they can do it in-house with AI tools.
You've just gained a new capability and you've cut a massive external cost. That is a huge competitive shift, and it leads right into dimension 4, which is strategic metrics.
Measuring your position in the market.
Positioning improvement, yeah.
Yeah.
Market responsiveness, innovation velocity. If your new engineering capacity lets you release new features twice as fast as your competitor, that advantage compounds over time. You can actually track time to market as a strategic ROE metric.
And the final one, dimension 5, is the one that often gets forgotten when we talk about automation. It's about the people.
The human metrics. This tracks the impact on your workforce, employee satisfaction, retention rates, learning velocity. If AI handles the drudgery, the boring stuff that causes burnout,
Your best people stick around.
your best people stay, and they're engaged in more meaningful work. Avoiding the huge cost of replacing and retraining top talent is a massive, measurable financial asset that ROI just completely ignores.
So those 5 dimensions together, they give you a way to prove that the investments are working, even if there isn't a clean revenue number yet. You're building capacity.
And this capacity is what forms the new digital balance sheet. So if ROE is our measurement lens, we need to know what assets we're actually measuring.
Okay, let's get into the inventory. What are the 5 asset classes that belong on this new balance sheet?
The first one is the one everyone knows, but frankly, often mismanages.
Infrastructure.
Foundation,
Yes,
cloud, data platforms, storage. It's the modern factory floor. It literally determines your capacity ceiling. You can have the best AI models in the world, but if your compute is constrained, you can't scale.
And the big mistake here.
Underinvestment. Companies consistently underinvest because the costs come way up front before you see any value. It's about buying future optionality.
Okay, asset class 2.
Software and tools. So this is the AI models themselves, the APIs, the dev platforms. The key here is the economics are changing. It's not a one-time license anymore.
It's consumption-based. The cost scales with use.
Right, which just reinforces our main point. Value only scales when you actually use it. The question for this asset is always, what new capabilities does this tool enable?
And the third class, data. This feels like where the real competitive advantage lies.
It is the data asset. It's the grounding layer. We're talking about your proprietary data sets, your customer history, your domain-specific info.
Everyone has access to the same big foundation models.
But nobody else has your specific customer history or your operational logs. The general models provide the intelligence. Your unique data provides the moat. It's also, sadly, the most neglected asset. Trapped in silos, poor quality.
Which means the models are running on incomplete knowledge.
Yeah.
So we have the tools, we have the data, but you have to connect them. That must be asset 4.
That's workflows. This is the deployment layer. Automated processes, agent systems. We said the tool is potential, the workflow is deployment. This is the difference between having AI and using AI.
That's a critical distinction.
Companies that build strong workflow assets get returns. Companies that just buy tools have nothing but expenses. An automated process is an asset in itself.
And finally, the one that makes it all work.
The one that activates everything else. Skills. The human capital.
AI fluency, deployment expertise.
Exactly. The best infrastructure in the world is useless if no one knows how to deploy the models. Skills are non-negotiable. But there's a huge warning here.
Because
Skills depreciate faster than any other digital asset. AI evolves monthly. So continuous investment in training isn't a bonus. It's basic asset maintenance.
it's like an ongoing subscription just to stay current. And I think the key here is that these 5 classes are totally interdependent. Infrastructure limits skills, data quality breaks workflows. You have to manage all 5 at once.
That's the whole picture. Your old balance sheet was designed to see 10% of your value, the tangible world. This new framework, the digital balance sheet and ROE, that's how you see and manage the other 90%.
And measuring ROE in month 6 shows you've expanded your capacity.
Yeah.
It proves the investments are working, even if traditional ROI says they're a failure. That mindset shift is, well, it's everything for a leader today.
When you stop seeing AI as a project that needs immediate revenue and you start seeing it as a capital investment in durable capacity, the whole story changes from scarcity to abundance.
So the digital balance sheet gives you that audit framework. And here's the final provocative thought for you to take with you. Look at your own organization through the lens of those 5 asset classes. Where is your digital capital trapped? Is your data quality holding you back? Is your infrastructure setting too low a ceiling? Are your people skills depreciating faster than the tech is advancing?
Finding those trapped or misallocated pockets of capital, that's the first step to really scaling this stuff effectively.
And that strategic audit leads us right into our next deep dive. The balance sheet names the assets, but assets need workers. Next time, we introduce the first new worker of this cognitive era, the synthetic developer. Join us then.